Hi, welcome to my video on solving quadratic inequalities. This is the first video in the unit on quadratic inequalities. Part 1. Solve quadratic inequalities, Part 1. Solving quadratic inequalities, I'm going to follow these steps. I'm going to find the values of x such that the factors equal 0. Plot the values on the number line. Find a value above, between, and below the values that are in number 2. Substitute each value of the numbers that I have in number 3 into the expression to see if they're positive or negative. If positive, then it's going to be greater than. If negative, it's going to be less than. And then write your answer as an inequality or interval notation. Let's do some examples. We have bracket x plus 2 times x minus 4 is greater than or equal to 0. So x plus 2 equals 0, or x minus 4 equals 0. X is negative 2 and x is 4. So if I draw a number line and I put 4 and negative 2 on the number line, then I'm going to select some values that's greater than 4, so I'm going to take a 5. In between negative 2 and 4, I'm going to take a 0. And below, I'm going to take a negative 3. So what I'm going to do now is take the negative 3 and sub into this expression. So negative 3 plus 2, negative 3 minus 4. And I'm not worried about what the number is. I'm just worried, I only want the sign. So negative 3 add on 2 is a negative. And negative 3, negative 4 is a negative. So negative times a negative is a positive. So that's a negative 3 will give me a positive number. That means all numbers to the left of negative 2 will be positive. Now let's sub in 0 and see what we get. 0 plus 2, 0 minus 4, that's a positive. That's a negative. So that gives me a negative number. So all numbers between negative 2 and 4 will give me a negative. And sub in x equals 5. So 5 plus 2, 5 minus 4, and I get a 7, which is positive. I get a 1, which is positive, so that's a positive. So the answer to this is greater than, equal to, greater than is positive numbers. So the positive numbers are x is less than or equal to negative 2, or x is greater than or equal to 4. Remember now, negative 2 and 4 are the numbers that decides what boundaries these are going to be. Now that's the inequality as a set notation. Because we have an equal sign, we have a solid bar starting at negative 2 and going to negative infinity, open. Or again, is equal to, so we have a solid bar or square bar, 4, going to positive infinity. When I say infinity or positive infinity, open. So that's the answer to this inequality. Now, this inequality right here is the same x's, like x plus 2, x plus 2, x minus 4, x minus 4, but it's a less than. So we get the same answers that we come up with. X is negative 2, or x is 4, because it's the same inequality. And we look at the number line. Number line, everything is going to be exactly the same, only with less than, we're looking at the negatives. So with less than, we're dealing with the negative number. So the negative number is from -2 to a 4, but there's no equal sign. So the answer is -2 less than x less than 4. Notice there's no equal sign, so the -2 and the 4 are not included. And notice it's in between these two. So if you take any number between -2 and 4 and plug it into this inequality, you'll always get a negative. So that's the inequality that does it. The set notation or interval notation is an open -2 comma 4 open. Notice that these are round brackets because the -2 and the 4 are not included. So less than is in between, greater than is on the outside. And you'll see that every time you have a greater than, you'll be on the outside of the two intercepts or the two values of x that give you 0. And when you have a less than, you'll be in between. Let's continue. Another example, but we have a negative this time. -3 times x minus 1. X minus 5 is greater than 0. And when I deal with, I do not like the negative. So I'm going to multiply by -1. So that's 3 positive, and -1 times 0 is 0. But when you multiply an inequality by a negative, the inequality changes direction. So we're really dealing with 3 times x minus 1, x minus 5 is less than 0. And we cannot say 3 equals 0, so where's x minus 1 equals 0, x minus 5 equals 0, so x is 1 or x is 5. So let's draw the number line, and we have a 1 and we have a 5. So a number greater than 5, I'm going to take a 6. The number between 2 and 5, let's take a 3. And the number that's less than 1, I'm going to take a 0. So let's plug in 0. X equals 0. I'm going to sub that into this, not this one right here. So I got a 3, and x is 1. X is 0. 0 minus 1. 0 minus 5. Again, I'm not worrying about what the numbers are. So that's a positive right there, and that's a negative, and that's a negative. So that ends up to be a positive number. So any number less than 1 is going to give me a positive. Now let's deal with the number 3, and we're going to put a 3 in the place of x. So that's a positive, that's a positive, and that's a negative. Oh, I didn't need the negative, just the negative. Didn't need the negative too, just the negative. So positive times a positive times a negative is going to be negative. So in between 1 and 5 is going to be negative. And deal with the 6. 6 is the number I got to sub in. 3, 6 minus 1. And 6 minus 5, that's a positive. And 6 minus 1 is positive. 6 minus 5 is positive. So that's a positive number. So all the numbers greater than 5 are going to be positive. So the answer, we have less than. So we're not dealing with this one. This is the one we're looking at because we changed the sign. So we're looking at less than. So less than is dealing with the negative. So the negative interval, again, less than, as I said, is in between the two values. So we got 1 is less than x is less than 5. So all numbers that I sub in this expression, or this one, makes no difference. All the numbers that I sub in between 1 and 5 will make this expression true. All the numbers I sub in this expression between 1 and 5 will also make this expression true. And the notation is, there's no equal sign, so it's a 1, comma, 5. Notice the round bars. If they were equal to, I would have a square bar. So that's some practice, some examples that I did. Let's do practice. Let's solve some now for practice. So what you can do is pause your video and work these out if you wish. So we have 2x plus 1 equals 0, or x minus 6 equals 0. 2x equals negative 1, divide by 2, so x equals negative a half. X equals 6. So I have two numbers of a negative a half. Let's say that's right there, and 6 is over here. A number greater than 6, I'm going to take a 7. A number between negative a half and 6, I'm going to take a 0. I always try to take a 0 if I can. Easier to plug in a 0. And less than negative a half would be negative 1. So let's deal with the negative 1 first. Sub in the expression. So we have a 2, negative 1, plus 1. And we have negative 1 minus 6. So we work out the inside of this one. That's negative 2 plus 1 is negative. Negative 1, negative 6 is negative. So that's a positive. And we deal with the 0 now. X equals 0. Sub that in. 2 brackets 0 plus 1. And 0 minus 6. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is positive. And 0 minus 6 is negative. So that's a negative. And we'll deal with x equals 7. And 2, 7 plus 1, and 7 minus 6. 14 plus 1 is 15, which is positive. 7 minus 6 is positive, so that's a positive. Okay, we have them all done, and we're looking for less than equal to. So less than, as we said, less than is in between. So in between is going to be the negatives. So we have a negative a half, less than, no, less than equal to, x less than equal to 6. And the set notation is square bracket, negative a half, comma, 6, square bracket. Square bracket because the negative a half and the 6 are included. And let's try another one, number 2. X minus 2 times x plus 3 is less than 0. So we have x minus 2 equals 0. X plus 3 equals 0. X equals 2. X equals negative 3. Let's draw our number line. Whoops, let's make the number line straight. I have a 2 and I have a negative 3. Take the numbers above 2, so I'll take a 3. In between negative 3 and 2, I'll take a 0. And less than negative 3, I'll take a negative 4. Now I'll sub in the negative 4 into the expression. Negative 4 minus 2, negative 4 plus 3. That's a negative 6, which is negative, and that's a negative 1, which is negative. So that gives me a positive number. Now we have to deal with the 0. Check on the 0, so we got a 0 minus 2, 0 plus 3. That's a negative, that's a positive, and that's a negative number. And now we're going to do with the 3. 3 is above the 2 zeros that we got. So we're going to plug in a 3. 3. So we're putting 3 in the place of x. And that's 3 minus 2 is positive. 3 plus 3 is positive. So the product is positive. Okay. And we're dealing with less than. Less than is dealing with the negative. And there's no equal signs, so we're dealing with the negative. So we're dealing with the negative 3 is less than x is less than 2. We're dealing with these two numbers. And the negative 3, notice the values are in between. And the bar is, notice, there's no equal sign, so it's a round bar. If it was equal to, it would be a solid bar on the end. And hopefully, notice again, this is less than, and less than is between the two values that we have here. Greater than would be on the outside, like greater than 2 and less than -3. But less than is in between. Less than will give you the negative in between. And again, pause the video and see if you can work this one out. And do that for all the ones that I do, because what I do is I do some examples to explain, and then I give you some to practice. And here we go. So x minus 7, x minus 2 is greater than or equal to 0. So x minus 7 equals 0. X minus 2 equals 0. X is 7 or x is 2. You draw the number line. And we have a 7, which 7 and 2, so 2 is on the left, 7 is on the right. I'm going to take an 8, a number in between. 2 and 7 would be a 4, and a number to the left of 2, again, 0 is over there. I could take a 1. Notice I'm always taking these numbers to be integers, easier to plug in. So let's take x equals 0 and sub in the expression 0 minus 7. 0 minus 2, that's a negative, that's a negative, and negative times a negative is a positive. So any numbers less than 2 is positive. Let's take a 4. Notice I'm showing, this could be done faster, but I'm showing you every step. You could take 4 and put there and just say, that's a negative. And 4 minus 2 is positive. So that's a negative. Product is negative. And we take an x equals 8. Plug 8 in. Now, plug 8 in. And as you can see, 8. If you didn't write this down, you could say 8 minus 7 would be positive. And 8 minus 2 would be positive. So you could do a positive. Oh, I forgot to put my negative up here. So I'm showing you every step. Again, it can be quicker if you just worked about. Like I could put the plus and the plus down below right here without working all this and put a plus up here. I could put the negative and the negative and the positive right here below. But this, you're seeing it. Hopefully you're not making a mistake. And greater than equal to is the pluses. So greater than equal to is the positives. Spell it right, positives. So we're dealing with this interval here. So x is less than or equal to 2, or x is greater than or equal to 7. And the interval, we got to notice, again, we have a greater than, and a greater than is outside, above, and below. So this is a solid bar 2 going to negative infinity. Open. And 7 is included. This x is greater than or equal to 7, so it's a solid bar, or square bar, and going to positive infinity or just infinity. Open. Okay, one more to do. Again, number 4, you can pause the video and work them out. We have a negative, don't want a negative, so I'm going to multiply both sides by -1. Negative times a negative is a positive. Because we multiplied by a negative number, we change it to a less than. -1 times 0 is 0. So now I always deal with a positive on the left side. So zeros are x plus 4 equals 0, or x plus 2 equals 0, x equals -4, x equals -2. Notice you can't say 2 equals 0, so the zeros are only what's in the brackets, because you can't say 2 equals 0, so you ignore the 2. Number line, we have a -4 and we have a -2. Negative 2 is on the right because it's greater than negative 4. So greater than negative 2 would be a 0. In between negative 4 and negative 2 would be negative 3. Less than negative 4 would be negative 5. So let's deal with the negative 5. So we're going to put in, we're dealing with this bracket here now. So 2, negative 5 plus 4, and negative 5 plus 2. So that's a positive. This is a negative. That's a negative. Positive for this interval. Now we're going to work out the negative 3. 2, negative 3 plus 4, negative 3 plus 2. Again, I'm plugging the negative 3 into this one right here. I'm working on the less than. So that's a positive. Negative 3 plus 4 is positive. Negative 3 plus 2 is a minus. So that's a negative. And we have x equals 0. Remember, I'm plugging in the negative 5, the negative 3, and the 0. So plug in the 0, I get 2, 0 plus 4, and 0 plus 2. That's positive, positive, positive. So 2 is positive. So this is positive. This is positive, so that's a plus. So all numbers greater than negative 2 is going to be positive. All numbers in between negative 4 and negative 2 is going to be negative. And all numbers less than negative 4 are going to be positive. And we have again, I removed the negative and changed the sign, so I'm dealing with the less than. And the less than is the negative. So I look up above, and the negative is on negative 4, less than x, less than negative 2. And the interval is no equal sign, so it's a round bar, negative 4, comma, negative 2, round bar. So this is, either one of these can describe your answer. Depends what your teacher wants. Your choice. So that's the video on solving inequalities, quadratic inequalities. And notice, just to summarize, if you have a greater than or greater than equal to, remember you're on the outside. And what I mean by that, let's just watch. If you have, pretend, this is only pretend, let's pretend you have a 2 and a 6. So if I have a greater than, I would definitely have x's less than or less than equal to 2, or x would be greater than or greater than equal to. So you could have either or. Greater than or greater than equal to would be on the outsides. In other words, you would be, it would be those, and it would be those. Whereas if you have less than equal to, you would be on the inside. What I mean by on the inside, let's take the 2 and the 6 again. You would be in here. So you would have x, you would have 2 less than x less than 6, or you have 2 less than equal to. Again, greater than equal to is above and below with an or. And if you got less than equal to, you're in between the two numbers, 2 and 6. That brings us to the end of the video. And if you like my video, click the like button, the subscribe button, and notification bell. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. And that's the content that's on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.